welcome back to some more roster evaluation. Today we are continuing on this process with the tight end position group. We've already done the entire defense. We've done the offensive line. After today, all that will be left will be the wide receivers, the running backs, and we will end this all on the quarterback. We're going to save Kirk Cousins for last because I feel like we talk about him a little too often, even though that is the most important position, arguably, on a football team. But that is the plan, and today I am sitting off-center so we can put all of the interesting information on the other side of the screen here. So as you will now see, these are the tight ends that we are currently working with heading into the 2021 season. And at the top, we have Kyle Rudolph, who has been the discussion of either a restructure or a cap casualty since the offseason began. And he has gone on the record in saying that he is not interested in restructuring that contract. He is due $9.38 million this year. He is under contract, I believe, until the end of 2023. And it's hard to imagine Kyle Rudolph not being a member of the Minnesota Vikings. He's been here his entire career. He was drafted in the second round, the same year as the Christian Ponder draft. And he's been, a staple for this team. He's Minnesota, like that. He's the guy. But I really don't know. So let's discuss what some of his points are. So the point that he made during the interview, that he believes he has a lot of good football left. And I think I agree with him, because if you take a look at his major complaint this year, which was I've been asked to block way too much, and I'm just not seeing the ball thrown my way very often. And I looked into the statistics, and he has a point. And it's really hard to contribute when you're only seeing 35, 40, 45 passes a year. So Kyle Rudolph this season posted a stat line of 28 receptions, 334 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty pedestrian for a starting tight end that's making almost $10 million a year, right? But he only saw 37 targets. So he only had 37 passes thrown his way in this offense, which is run first, run some more, and oh, by the way, we're going to run on just about every down that we can think of, right? So this was his worst season statistically since 2014, and the irony of that is that that was the last season where he also had less than 40 targets. He had 34 that season. So it's a clear indication that when Kyle Rudolph is not getting peppered with targets throughout the season, he's not being productive, because he's not going to be able to take advantage of limited targets, because he's just not that type of tight end, right? He's not a Travis Kelce who's going to get a lot of yards after catch. He's not a George Kittle who's going to run all the way down the field on a post or something like that and come up with one of these amazing catches in stride. That's just not who he is. He's more of an underneath kind of tight end, peel off his blocks and get out into space, sit down, find somewhere to catch the ball, maybe get a few yards after the catch. He might drag a few guys with him, but that's just what he is. And it is clear in this offense, even with Gary Kubiak gone, that Clint Kubiak is probably going to take over, and we're going to see a lot of the same. So one of the interesting things that I've noted was that ever since Kirk Cousins arrived in Minnesota, Kyle Rudolph's target share has dropped significantly every single season. So in 2018, Kyle Rudolph had 82 targets. In 2019, he had 48 targets. And then this season, as we've discussed, 37. So it's gone down pretty significantly every single year that Kirk Cousins has been the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. And I don't think that's going to change. So I think, despite Kyle Rudolph wanting to contribute more and showcase that he has more, to give to the offense, I don't know that he's going to get the chance. And if he really believes that he has more football left in him, he's only 32 years old. But if he really believes he can be a big-time contributor, he might want to go elsewhere, even though I know that's not what he wants to do. He wants to stay in Minnesota. He was speculation of all sorts of midseason trade rumors. A lot of people had him linked to the Patriots, not because of rumors, but just because that would be a good fit for him. The Patriots currently lack a decent tight end. I don't know what they think of Dalton Keene and the other guy that they drafted last year. I think his name's Devin Asiasi. If that's correct, I'll be amazed that I remember that. But Kyle Rudolph, he's been in the league for 10 years, and it might just be the time. They might just cut him, because I think they would only take on $4 or $5 million in dead cap money and save another $4 or $5 million. I could have those numbers backwards. It might be less dead cap money, but I know the savings would be significant enough that they'd be able to maneuver a little bit. Moving on, we also have Irv Smith Jr., who had, I don't want to say a breakout year. The second half of the season was really good for Irv Smith Jr. It really showcased what he's capable of. And it's actually kind of annoying, I'm not going to lie, kind of annoying that it took a post-game press conference with the reporters asking the coaching staff, why isn't Irv Smith Jr. more involved in this offense? Because I forget what week it was, and somebody can point it out if they remember, but he hadn't been really involved at all up until that point. So after that press conference in the next few weeks, his productivity started to increase, and he got to see a few more passes thrown his way. So for Irv Smith, he ended the season with a much better stat line than Kyle Rudolph, despite only getting one more reception. So he had 30 receptions, 365 yards, 5 touchdowns, saw 43 targets this year. So that was, I believe, 6 more than Kyle Rudolph saw. So it's a difference of 6 passes, which isn't very much. And it just shows you that between the two tight ends, only getting, 80 total passes thrown their way this year. That's definitely on the low side of things. So this is an offense that really doesn't utilize the tight end in the passing game. They utilize them in the run game. Irv Smith, by the way, if I could just, as an aside here to get away from the passing aspect of it, he had a lot of good blocks this year, I thought, at least watching the tape. The guy's not afraid to go out and hit somebody. There was a couple miscues. I will mention that in all fairness, but the guy can block in the run game, and I think that's probably why they took him in the second round a few years ago. I think it was the second round. Viking second round draft picks are always pretty good. Kyle Rudolph, Brian O'Neill, Dalvin Cook was a second round pick. It's like we hit more often in the second round than we do in the first. Then we also have Tyler Conklin, 26-year-old tight end who's been in the league for 3 years. At the end of the season, I think it was started in the Jaguars game where he sort of came in and, showed that he could contribute in a limited capacity. And Courtney Cronin said it best that Tyler Conklin being productive makes Kyle Rudolph expendable. So Tyler Conklin coming in and actually having, a productive second half, as best as a tight end 3 could be productive, if I could put it that way, sort of puts Kyle Rudolph's, status in Minnesota in jeopardy even more, because they could probably look at it as, okay, Irv Smith, competent, Tyler Conklin, competent. We have 2 competent starting tight ends. Why are we paying this other guy $10 million to only catch 28 passes? And he doesn't want to block, even though, he's doing it, but he's complaining about it. So I would hate to see Kyle Rudolph go, honestly, because, it's the same situation with Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith is my favorite player on this team, other than Justin Jefferson. And the time is just ticking. It's going to happen one way or another. And then I don't want to forget to mention Hale Hentges, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry. 25-year-old, 2 years in the league, making $850,000. Probably, he's just here for depth. But that's really what we're working with heading into the 2021 season. Now, if we do cut Kyle Rudolph, that's going to be both sad and make it so that we're going to have a position really to fill, unless those are the 3 tight ends that are remaining that they want to roll with. So I don't know if we're going to pick a tight end in this upcoming draft. There's not much to choose from. I think after, you of course got Kyle Pitts, who's going to go top 10, maybe even top 5. You've got Pat Freiermuth, who's definitely a first or second round pick. I think more of a second. Brevin Jordan will probably get picked day 2. You got Hunter Long from Boston College. And then after that, really, it's just a myriad of tight ends that, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to take a blocking tight end in the 5th round, since they want to be a run-first team. It all really depends on what Clint Kubiak is going to stick with, inheriting his father's offense. How much is he going to deviate from the old system? How much new stuff is he going to want to implement? And knowing Mike Zimmer, it's probably not going to be a lot. So as far as free agent tight ends, I don't know. I'm not really up to speed on those, so I don't really think that that's going to be a viable path if we do get rid of Kyle Rudolph. But that is what we are working with for the Vikings tight end position group heading into 2021. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.